So, welcome everyone. I'm very glad you're here. I invite you to just take a moment to settle into your body, to really listen to your body's requests. Is it desiring some movement, maybe some stretching, some repositioning? See if you can honor the voice that is coming through your body, the request. See if you can feel your feet on the floor or any points of contact on the chair or the surface beneath you, and see if you can just feel into that support and notice how you are arriving today. See if you can let your face soften ever so slightly and let your gaze be soft. And to begin, I invite you to take one slow breath in all together. And a long, easy breath out. And just let yourself land here. Today's class is called How to Stay Calm When Life Feels Overwhelming. The meditative path at its essence is actually very simple, and we tend to overcomplicate it because it's hard. The way I like to view the meditative path is really this practice of cultivating open, easeful presence. So, at first, this presence is something that we practice intentionally. It can be really elusive. It's not necessarily intuitive. A lot of us have big T, little t traumas that make it such that we are more regularly in fight or flight mode, where we are really task oriented, action oriented. And what this practice invites us into is how to just really build the muscle of choosing open, non-judgmental presence and choosing it again and again. And that is the meditative path. So every time the mind tightens, every time we judge ourselves or others, maybe we get kind of pulled into worry or planning or reactivity, we notice, ideally without shame, and we just return gently to presence. So note that the goal here isn't to have it be perfect. It's not to force yourself to think a certain way or to not think. It's just to be gentle in the returning back to the open state. And when you do this over and over, again and again, over time, things begin to shift. That open, easeful presence, the one we practice accessing in meditation classes like these, it becomes your place you begin to live from. In other words, more your default mode. So when you live from that place, the world around you doesn't need to get quieter for you to feel steady. So you can meet conflict without hardening. You can be in difficult relationships, but feel a little more space. You can allow sadness to move through you without resisting it. And on the flip side, you can allow joy to be like really, really fully felt. So, what changes isn't what arises in life. What changes is how much your judgment and resistance meets it. In other words, it doesn't make us immune to the chaos of the world, but it helps to build the capacity to stay centered within it, to stand in the steady middle of our experience while life continues to move around us. And every time we practice this, we are literally building the internal world that we want to live in. Um, if this isn't making too much sense, I'll share a quick story and then we'll dive into practice. I got a new puppy last week, and there was a moment yesterday when both of my children were crying. The puppy was crying. The alarm on the stove was ringing. It was so loud and so chaotic. And I could, in that moment, feel the benefits of this practice kicking in. I was not unaffected by the chaos, but I was able to remain kind of calm and grounded. What I really felt was that I was in the center of my center with the chaos swirling around me. Now, it doesn't happen like this all the time. I'm not gonna lie. This is 2 decades of meditation practice finally paying off. But all that's to say, even, even a few years ago, I think those moments would really, really put me into a spiral. And that's why we do this practice of returning to presence and literally just building that muscle. It's not to stay perfectly zen all the time, just to practice noticing and returning to this easeful center of the center. So we get to practice that together today. We are going to do a little bit of a different format today. We're going to do 3 sits of mostly silent practice. And we're going to try to build our tolerance for this little by little. So we're going to do a 2-minute silent sit, a 4-minute, and then a 6-minute. And we're going to practice experimenting with some different anchors, attention anchors. And I will guide you. So all you have to do is be here right now, present to my voice, and really give yourself the gift of this practice. So if it feels comfortable and you feel ready, I invite you to allow your eyes to close. And if that doesn't feel safe in your body, just simply lower your gaze and let your body settle. And let the breath move naturally. And simply follow the instructions that you hear to the best of your ability while maintaining gentle compassion for yourself and trusting in the process. So, for this first 2-minute sit, the invitation is to experiment with this anchor, the physical sensation of the breath. You might notice the coolness of the breath at the nostrils, the rise and fall of the chest, the ballooning of the belly. You do not need to control it. The instruction is just very simple. When you notice that you're distracted, gently return to the feeling of the breath. That's it. So we'll begin 2 minutes of silence, focused on just gently returning to the feeling of the breath. And taking a deep breath in and exhale. If your mind wandered, that's not a problem. Noticing the mind wandering is the practice. Each noticing and each return strengthens that capacity for presence. So now give yourself a chance to reposition your body if you need. Shake, stretch, reorient before we enter into this next sitting practice, which will be 4 minutes of silence. And when you feel ready, letting your eyes close down, inviting yourself into this second of 3 sits. And for this one, the anchor will be physical sensation in your body. So instead of focusing on one point, the invitation is to allow physical sensations to come and to go. You might notice pressure, warmth, tingling, movement, tension. Whatever it is, your instruction is that when you notice distraction, return to feeling the body as it is. No fixing, no analyzing, no judging, just allowing sensation to be there. So if there's discomfort, see if you can allow it to be there. It's just 4 minutes. So if there's ease, see if you can really feel what that ease feels like. We're simply feeling the body as it is. And this time I will give you a very gentle heads up when we're halfway through, just to help you feel a little more held. When you're ready, letting your eyes close, and we begin our 4 minutes now. If you feel steady and anchored into the feeling of your body, simply stay with it for the remaining 2 minutes. And if things are feeling scattered, I invite you to just gently return to your body's sensation. Nothing else required. And 2 more minutes of this practice. And taking a deep breath in and exhale out. Repositioning your body if needed. Noticing if that felt long or short, hard or easy, without judgment. And lastly, for our 6-minute sit, this anchor is going to be that feeling of open, easeful presence itself. This is the simple sense of being here. So, your instruction is when you notice distraction, relax back into open, easeful, non-judgmental presence. You don't need to hold anything or push anything away. Just allow the experience to rise and pass. Another way of thinking of it is imagining yourself with a really wide peripheral vision. Think of wide, expansive space, and your thoughts are like clouds just passing by. Just noticing them passing through space. And if you get taken away or you jump in a cloud, the invitation is just to notice that's what's happened and return to this more expansive, easeful presence. And I will cue you when we're halfway through if you need support in reorienting. 6 minutes begins now. We're about halfway through. If you noticed you've attached on to any thoughts, see if you can just notice that you've attached and invite it to gently float away. And see if you can pull yourself out so you can see the whole sky, returning to open awareness. I invite you to breathe in and breathe out and notice the quality of your inner space right now. This is what we're cultivating. It's not a state to escape into, it's more of a way of meeting life. You don't have to live here all the time. You just have to know how to return again and again. Begin to notice the space around you, the lights and colors that you can see through your closed eyes. Notice any sounds. And gently wiggle your fingers and toes. And when you're ready, open your eyes. Thank you for practicing, for choosing openness, and for cultivating this steadier way of being with life in the center of your center. Take your time moving back into your day.